Welcome to Codetober day number 11, or I already did 11. Is it 12? I think it's 12. All right. Welcome. And on the last video, we saw the difference between a tail recursive function and a recursive function, and how the recursive function sends you Stack Overflow error after 255, and the tail recursive function doesn't send you an error after 255 iterations. So we already did getChildren and add index tail recursive functions. We are going to do getDaysBetween now. Oh, this is a nice one. Okay, so we click on the getDaysBetween link. We take the code. There is no input here. So let's just take the code and see what happens. Let me get rid of all the comments. Okay, this is clearer to see. So this is our function, getDaysBetween. We are accepting one parameter called start date, one parameter called end date. Both are dates. Then we have include end date, which is a Boolean, and the default is false. Now including days of week, and this is an array of number, and the default is an array from 1 to 7. And excluding dates, this is an array of dates. The default is an empty array. And the count, which is a number with the a default of 0. In this case, these three parameters are filters that we will be using for this function, and the final result is the count. So we want to get the days, the number of days between two dates, and we want to be able to filter, like include the end date or not, include days of the week if you want to like don't count, for example, Sunday or Saturday or Sunday. And you can exclude specific dates as well, like holidays or stuff like that. And this is our final result. So this is our parameter stuff. And then we do equals do. Remember, we use the do keyword to start creating another context inside a function. So you can have like local variables inside here, for example. So first we have the variable include days of week. This is basically just gonna check if it contains, if the start date contains the day of week that are included here. Then if the start date is an excluded date, then if they're valid dates, and the new count, which is what we're going to send to the next one. So if the date is a valid date, then we're going to send count +1 for the date in question. And if not, we're just counting. So let me just show you first an example of what we're doing here. So in the output, can I make this? Nope. Okay. In the output, we have start date. This is example start date that we're doing. So for example, we're doing February 1st of 2021, and the end date is February 22nd of 2021. So we're going to count the different days between those two dates. The first one is count working days, so Monday to Friday, including the end date. So if the end date is a Friday, for example, then we're going to include that date. Now count working days excluding the end date. For example, here you have 16, and now we have 15 here because we're excluding the end date. Now if every weekend was a long weekend, meaning from Monday to Thursday, then we would have a 13. We have 13 days. Now, if we count the working days with some days that we're excluding, so for example, we're excluding February 15, 16, 17, 18, and 19, so 5 days less. then we're getting an 11. Now count all days of the week, including the end date, 22, and count all days excluding the end date, and we have 21. And how we do all of that is basically just using the filters. We have the start date, end date, and then we're using true here to include the last date. And then we're specifying here which working days we want to include, which is just from Monday to Friday. Then on this one, we're just including from Monday to Thursday. On this one, we're again including Monday to Friday, excluding, I don't remember. And then excluding these dates. Oh, including. No, excluding. And including these dates, let's say that they were holiday. Then on this one, all days, including end date. So it's just sending the true, and then all days excluding end date, and we don't have to do anything but to send start date and end date. And finally, this is the actual code. So now that we see what exactly it's doing, we're going to do a validation. So if start date is more than end date, then send the count. Else if start date is equal to end date, so if we're like just at the end of the count, then it depends. If we're going to include the end date and the date is valid, then we're going to do a count +1. If not, then we're just doing count. And finally, if we're not on the last day and we haven't surpassed the last day, we're going to do all of the other dates, which basically is just calling again the getDaysBetween function, which is the same function. Now we're sending the start date that we received plus 1 day. So this is how you can add 1 day to a date. We send again the end date. We send again all of the other parameters, the filter parameters, and we send the new count. So remember that if this was a valid date, then we had to do count +1, else count. And that is how you can count count the number of days in between two dates, but including specific filterings like this. And remember that this is not a recursive function, this is a tail recursive function, and we know that because we're sending the results of each iteration into the second or the next call. That's it for today. I hope that was helpful. Remember that you can go into the GitHub repo and try it for yourself. So just go to Alexandra Martinez /DataWeave Scripts, and you will be able to see the getDaysBetween folder. Then you have the code and the output. There is no input for this one. All right, remember to subscribe. You will see a button appearing over my head in a few seconds. Remember to subscribe, follow me on socials @DevAlexMartinez, and see you on the next video. Bye!